So now that we've learned all about storms and causes of storms, let's talk about actually predicting the weather. So the objectives of this lesson are: how do weather forecasters predict the weather? How has technology helped weather forecasting? And how can you read a weather map? So a weather forecaster's official job title is meteorologist. Okay, a meteorologist is a scientist who studies the causes of weather and tries to predict the weather. Again, everybody kind of likes to make fun of meteorologists when they don't get the weather right, but it's such a hard science to control because everything's changing in the weather at any given moment. And so, I mean, they can only do the best they can. So their main job is to collect and interpret the data that they get from information around them. Okay, so way back when the technology was not great, the only data they could collect was what they could see right around them. So they weren't able to predict things very far out. I mean, what are the clouds doing? How is the wind moving? So their predictions were not good and they were not very long term. Now that they have better technology, and we'll get into this a little bit later on, they're able to see things on a bigger scale, not just locally. So they're able to predict better. Okay, so they do this with maps, charts, and mostly computers now. Okay, the main source of weather information in the United States is the National Weather Service. So your first brain break, and this will be the first part of your assignment for today, is to go to weather.gov, which is the National Weather Service, and this is going to take you to more locally where we live, okay? And then you're going to, from the forecast, it tells you, you're going to tell me 3 things going on in local weather right now. That can include temperature, weather prediction, things that happened yesterday, so on and so forth. So that's your first brain break. All right, weather technology. So something that isn't as prominent anymore because it's pretty low tech are weather balloons. So they would literally send up balloons that carry measuring instruments into the troposphere or the low stratosphere where weather occurs, and that would measure information like wind speed, cloud cover, temperature, and then that balloon would eventually fall back to Earth, and they could get that information, or it will send it back to computers. Now, the most prominently used thing are weather satellites. Okay, so these are actually in the exosphere. That's the very outermost layer of the atmosphere. We've learned about that. Okay, these satellites, high tech, and they're able to send back amazing pictures and gather good information about what's going on Earth's surface. Okay, so this is our primary use of weather technology now. Okay, there's also on the surface automated weather stations. So obviously weather varies from place to place. Even within the city of Lincoln, what's happening in the north part of Lincoln is not necessarily what's happening in the south part of Lincoln. So they're placed all over the place, and this one might look familiar. There is actually a weather station that looks similar to this on St. Michael's property, okay, and that's picking up specific weather information at that area and sending it back, and then they gather all that information to make better predictions, okay? And then there's computer forecasters. So computers use programs to look at what's going on, like let's say stuff that's going on in California will eventually make its way over to Nebraska. So those things computers can kind of figure out, and there's different models. So like when you're talking about a snowstorm, you might hear that like one model is saying 6 inches, And then this model is saying we're not going to get any snow. So different computers have different forecasts based on their programming. All right, this is your second brain break. So we're going into actually you looking at a weather map and being able to understand what it's trying to tell you. So on some weather maps, they use little symbols like this, and this little symbol contains a lot of information. So the top of page 96 is going to help you interpret this information. And then there's a yellow skills activity box. That's the second part of your homework for today. Okay, so let's talk about this. So this top number is the temperature, the high temperature for the day. This is the dew point, so the lower temperature is the dew point. Okay. This symbol means whatever current weather's happening, and again, you would probably need to understand, or you would need to look at the key to know what that's telling you. Okay. This is telling you the wind direction, so which way is the wind moving? Okay, so think of it like a compass. If this is north and this is south, then your wind is moving northeast. Okay, these little bars tell you how much wind speed there is. This is the atmospheric pressure and the pressure trend. So is it going up or is it going down? And this is telling you cloud cover. So if it's completely full like this, you have complete cloud cover. Okay, so it's not a very sunny day if you see something like that. Again, I don't expect you to just know how to read this. Use page 96, the top of it has a key that can help you. All right, an actual weather map, and this is on page 98 in your book if you'd prefer to look there. Okay, this is more what you might see if you look at a weather map like in a newspaper. Okay, this is what it's going to show you all across the country what's happening. So if we look at like Lincoln, which would be about here, okay, take a second to think about what do you see going on here? Okay, we can probably assume that it's snowing, little snowflakes. Okay, this blue color is telling me what the temperature range is going to be. So we're probably in the 30s because the other ones that are in the blue are in the 30s. Okay, hopefully it's going to get a little warmer. We're not very far. Okay, we're chilly. That's what it says. A low pressure front. That's what these L's mean. Okay, that's telling me a front just came through. And what kind of front was it? Do you remember? The cold front went through. Okay, so if we look at someplace more like Los Angeles, these yellow colors tell me it's in the 60s, so it's much warmer there than it would be here. Okay, might be a little rainy. That's kind of what these slanted lines show me. Okay, there's a front that had moved through a while ago, a cooler front that moved through a while ago, and a low pressure system that had moved through a while ago, but not much is happening there. Okay, so again, that's on page 98.